Okay, finally, okay. I didn't know it was recording. Okay, so finally going to do the Yu Yu Hakusho manga and anime comparison video, and this is going to be a very long video. First things first, I have my brother's laptop now, so while I'm still looking for a new one to buy, and I'm waiting for it to get here, I'm going to be using this. So I'm probably going to be using this for. I'll probably be having like a clear screen from now on, and no static and nothing like that for at least the time that he's here during the summer before he goes back to campus. So at the very least, no more yellow tint and no more static whenever I do a video or a stream. So that's a good thing. Second thing is, well, actually no. You know what? Let's just jump right into it. Okay, so I wanted to do this because obviously it's my favorite series, but not many people. This isn't a video that or a topic that's really talked about like on YouTube, and I feel like people would rather just watch a video about it rather than go through like a forum thread and see like all the differences and everything. So I decided to do that because I was interested in it. But the way that I want to do this is so for a minute or so, I'll talk about like general things that the manga does different, that the anime does different from the manga, or vice versa. And then I'll start going into like specific, like every single specific story thing. So that's obviously going to be like a lot longer. That's gonna pretty much take up the main meat of this video. But I guess I could start off with saying like, so the reason why, particularly when I talk about Dragon Ball, the reason I always pretty much, not just me but anyone who's like a fan of the manga or the Japanese version, the reason that they shit on the original dub by Funimation for Z is because it's not a very faithful dub in terms of portraying the characters correctly and having an accurate script. So I'm sure you guys have already heard me talk about this, like and that's why we all like Kai, because it does that and it shows the characters for who they really are and explains things better and this and that and this and that, right? So that's why we always prefer like the manga and all that, and various other things. But mainly it's because of like that it portrays the true content, and the original dub doesn't. Yu Yu Hakusho is similar in that respect, but unlike Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho's dub was actually somewhat decent, so it didn't suffer as much from dub changes. But that doesn't mean it was completely perfect though, because it kind of did portray some characters differently, and I may or may not talk about that because kind of like with Dragon Ball Z, like you have three different versions, or I'll just say Dragon Ball in general, the series in general. So you have the manga, then you have the Japanese version of the anime, Dragon Ball, and then Z, and I guess you might throw Super in that, I don't know, but then so you have those two, and then you have manga, Japanese versions of the anime, and then English versions of the anime. So you have three different versions of the series, which portray the characters somewhat differently. Because even though like the Japanese version of the anime, particularly with Dragon Ball, tends to portray Goku a lot more heroic than he actually is in the manga. So that's why I always like differentiate it. Not to mention the fact that because it has a lot of filler and because it extends a lot of scenes, that sometimes it adds in like some unnecessary explanations here and there of or different explanations of like what's happening in a particular scenario or situation. So Yu Yu Hakusho is kind of like that. You have the manga, the Japanese version of the anime, and then the English version of the anime. So it's kind of like three different versions of Yu Yu Hakusho. So, but I'm not going to be going into the dub stuff. At least I don't think I am. I just want to portray the subbed anime, even though not many people have watched it, and the manga, because that's obviously what Togashi wrote. And in my personal opinion, I kind of prefer. There are times where I prefer generally speaking, and usually I prefer the manga over the anime, only because I feel like it's a lot more raw, a lot. I don't want to say dark, because saying something is dark, and that's why I like it better. I feel like that's kind of like a dumb reason, but it's not because it's dark. It just feels like more like raw to me. I don't know how to explain it, but that's how I feel. Anyway, I'm just going to be comparing the subbed anime and the manga. So let's just start right now. Okay, so like I said, I'll start with like general differences. So and I have like a notepad over here on my other laptop. So like I'm reading it off. But one of the main things that the anime doesn't do the thing that it does differently from the manga, generally speaking, over all the episodes, is that it doesn't fully adapt chapters into an episode continuously. So like chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Generally, if you're like on an anime and you're adapting a manga, like you would make that like 1 or 2 episodes, right? But Hakusho doesn't do that. Generally, usually speaking, it takes chapters 2, 5, 17, and then makes that into one episode. So, and that's okay. I'm not having a problem with that because like all the content before the Tarukane stuff and the Dark Tournament stuff is kind of like very random and slice of life-esque. So it doesn't really, there's no really like story friction like when it does that, right? At times it'll take a panel or a situation from chapter 8 and combine it with all of chapter 6 and make that an episode. It's, and I'm just throwing numbers out here, but the point is like that I'm trying to make is like the anime doesn't adapt chapters continuously. Instead, it takes panels and pages of chapters not far behind and not too far ahead and mixes them both into an episode, basically. So basically, the moments happen at different times in both the manga and the anime. Another difference is that Yusuke is not as emotional and hot-blooded in the manga. For instance, in the manga, in the anime, if you guys remember the fight that he has with Chu in the Dark Tournament arc, Yusuke actually flips him off after beating him, or he flips off to Guro after defeating Chu, right? In the manga, he doesn't do that, and that's kind of in part due to the fact of like how the ending of Chu's fight goes in the manga, and I'll talk about that later. Yusuke is not that innocent in the manga, and so that's the third thing. Because in the manga he smokes, he drinks, and he gambles, right? Which is kind of interesting because the one of the traits of Yusuke's character, even in the manga, is that he has like this innocence with him that is always there. Like even at the end of the manga, like there's always like this innocence to his character, and the English version particularly doesn't really have that with him. So, but it's kind of interesting. Like Yusuke, he smokes, he drinks, and he gambles. He does like all this shady stuff in the manga, but yet he has like this quality of innocence to him still, despite all that, which I think is pretty interesting. I hope that light's not fucking you guys up. Okay, I hope. Fuck it, I don't want to change it. Another difference, a major difference, is that in the Dark Tournament, the anime's established a set pattern for filler, and basically what I mean by that is where whenever anything important happens, basically the reactions of the side characters are shown. Sometimes those are just like very quick shots of them. Sometimes it's a little conversations they have. It's little conversations they have, whatever. But usually like that is something that they do. So it's kind of like very Dragon Ball-esque, the anime in that regard. Before I go on any further, I do. This wouldn't be right for me if I didn't give credit where credit was due. So most of this stuff, and even some of this stuff was like me going through the chapters and the episodes, but most of this stuff, like I would say like 90% of this, is due in fact to the eponymous, the magnanimous, the great Herms, because he actually had this very old Yu Yu Hakusho site, and so he went through the same thing that the purpose of this video. So I don't want anyone to give me credit because this is essentially all him here, basically. So I'll put the link to his site in the description box below, and you guys can read it. But this isn't mine. Like I don't want you guys to think like, oh, you did this all, like, oh, thanks for doing this. Thank him, because this was all him. So, and basically this was just me taking a lot of his points and just trying to put it like into video format. So I'm pretty much just trying to promote his article, basically. So another difference is that a lot of inner dialogue is changed to dialogue between two people. An example of this is that Hiei thinks that Yusuke can beat Jin by firing his spirit gun at the moment Jin punches in the manga. So if you guys remember when Yusuke is fighting Jin in the Dark Tournament, at the moment Jin punches him in the manga, right? But the anime changes this discourse between Hiei and Mask, and Mask is what Genkai's persona is called in the subbed anime. So so again, just to reiterate, like whenever usually someone is thinking something, the anime tends to take that from the manga and change it into dialogue between two or more characters. So it kind of what's the word, belies, I don't quite know how to pronounce it, but it kind of belies like belies the sort of intelligence of some characters, because they're not thinking that, they're just like talking about it, I guess. kind of lessens their intelligence a little bit. But again, you know, it's not something that I really like care that much about. So another major difference is that the manga is much more graphic. Butajiri's death, Kuromomataro slicing his left hand's fingers off. Festival of Blood is shown more graphically in the manga, so it's just more like bloody and gory. And yeah, the anime in general is just more censored because, you know, Yusuke is not drinking I don't think there's any alcohol in the anime, and Yusuke is not smoking. And the anime also has a knack for introducing characters earlier in the anime than they do in the manga. So Sensui is introduced earlier in the anime than in the manga. Kido is, Yanagisawa, all those characters from the Chapter Black arc are pretty good examples of that. So with that, we've gone over the major differences. Now I'm going to go into the main meat of the video, and this is going to be probably an hour or so long. This is going to be long as fuck, so I'm just letting you guys know that. But now I'm going into very specific story stuff, which I think, and I didn't do every single major. I'm doing all not every single difference between the anime and the manga. I'm just going through all the major story ones, the ones that kind of characterize characters differently, things like that. So we'll start with this one. Yusuke's small deeds here and there before returning to life are skipped over in the anime, such as helping ghosts move on. And I don't like this because this takes away from Yusuke doing stuff to earn his resurrection in the manga. And the fact that the anime didn't show that, I feel kind of lessened the quest for that a little bit. In the anime, you know, instead of that, he's just watching his friends do stuff. And I think helping the ghost move on, when he's helping them move on to the afterlife, that stuff is important because it shows him, like I said, it shows him earning his resurrection. But it also shows a different side to Yusuke's character, that he can be a Samaritan when he wants to be. So I like that. Kuwabara is a little more manly and less emotional at the start of the manga too, as he doesn't try to keep running away from the gang trying to beat him up, so that, you know, as he doesn't try to run away from the gang that's trying to beat him up so that Okubo can keep his job. Where he is in the anime, he's a lot more tentative and a lot more scared, if you will. But in the manga, he isn't really like that. So at the start, so. The knowledge of Yusuke coming back to life is basically known to all the important characters very early on in the manga, but in the anime, it takes some time before someone like Kuwabara actually learns about his resurrection. So, also Yusuke actually doesn't immediately come back to life after rescues his body from the fire. It takes some time for the soul to merge with the body, if I remember correctly. Keiko's race to kiss Yusuke back to life isn't as dramatic in the manga because there's more time / leeway for that to happen. Whereas in the anime, they made it more heart thumping and all that. So Kurama's love for his mother is also expanded more upon in the manga. This is kind of stupid if you ask me, but it's very motherly, but it's just so stupid to explain why Kurama is so in love, why he loves his mother so much. But she basically cut her arms trying to save him from falling on plate shards. Yeah, I'm not serious. That's the reason. And that's just that's just fucking dumb to me, because I don't think that was explained in the anime. I'm pretty sure that wasn't, but well, of course it wasn't because it was expanded more in the manga. But yeah, she basically cut her arms trying to save him from falling on plate shards, which is just I love my mom so much because she saved me from falling on plate shards. I don't know. Okay, anyway, Kurama actually also has a side story of when he first met Hiei. This is an actual side story chapter in the manga, which I think is pretty cool. He planned to use the mirror from the start and didn't decide upon it when Goki and Hiei approached him in the anime. So in the anime, he only learns about the mirror and decides to use it when Goki and Hiei approach him. But he had already decided to use it from the start when, you know, the whole thing with his mother was there. So Hiei's goal, and so this is another major story difference. Hiei's goal initially is to do whatever he wants with an army of demon followers, but the anime changes this to him ruling over Spirit World. I think it's like that in the dub also. I don't remember, but you know, as you can see, Hiei is he's more kind of vagabondish at the start in the mangas than he is in the anime. So another one is that Jorge the Ogre. He's anime only. I think he's called George in the dub. Kuwabara's initial crush on Botan, that too is anime only. That's not in the manga. And here we first, I think the one that I'm about to say is like the very first like major difference between the manga and the anime when it comes to like actual story. Um, it's Hiei versus Seiryu. So Hiei versus Seiryu is kind of like this. It's kind of like this actual fight in the anime, but in the manga, it's just one page. It's just one page, and Hiei just kills him in one slash, and Seiryu is done. That's cool, and I kind of like that. But at the same time, I feel like it kind of demeans like how strong the beasts are, and so you don't take them that seriously. So I don't know. I like both versions of Hiei versus Seiryu. Shizuru, who is Kuwabara's sister, makes her first appearance when Yusuke's house is burning, but she first appears in the anime when Yukina's tape shows up. So she's there like when Yusuke's house is burning is in the manga. Botan doesn't accompany Yusuke and Kuwabara when they go to Tarukane's mansion to rescue her to rescue Yukina in the manga. So that's another kind of small difference there, I guess. The group that Sakia works for, or that he once was a part of, is known as the Black Book Club in the manga, but in the anime, it's called the Black Club. Like the fight with Seiryu, the fight of Yusuke versus the Demon Triad, who is like the three demons that Tarukane hired, those are all one-hit KOs, while they're made into actual like slightly longer fights in the anime. But one-hit KOing. I'm just gonna say this right now. It's a very, very, very large part of Yu Yu Hakusho's fights. There's a lot of one, and when I say that, I mean the manga, not the anime. And that's like one major difference that I forgot to include at the start that the anime did. Like it tends to make one-hit KOs in the manga slightly longer in the anime. So the Tarukane's arc anime also showcases Hiei watching over Yukina as a kid. And this actually causes a plot hole, because this is impossible since Hiei only learns of Yukina's existence when he's much older, as we see in the Three Kings arc. It's a plot hole in the manga too, but this flashback is exclusive to the anime, and the flashback that I'm talking about is the one that we see of Hiei when he's going towards Tarukane's mansion. Hiei's beating of Tarukane after the Yusuke and Kuwabara defeat the Toguro brothers. Hiei's beating of Tarukane is different because he punches him once in the manga, saying that Yukina should have nothing to do with him, while in the anime he punches him furiously in rage. So, like you can see, different characterization there. Toguro destroying the building when showcasing his power to Yusuke does not happen in the manga. Remember when Toguro invites him to participate in the Dark Tournament, and he said like if he doesn't do it, he'll kill everyone he knows. And when he destroys that building, that doesn't happen in the anime. Atsuko, who is Yusuke's mom, accompanies Botan, Keiko, and Shizuru to Kubikukuri Island in the manga. So it's called Hanging Neck Island in Funimation's dub, and that's the island where the Dark Tournament takes place. We never see Baby Koenma in the manga during the entire Dark Tournament arc until the very end. So just think about that. Like all those times you see Baby Koenma in the Dark Tournament arc, we never see Baby Koenma in the manga the entire Dark Tournament arc until the end. Kuwabara's loss to Rinku, who was the yo-yo person, makes him look more idiotic in the anime than the manga since he reacts to Yusuke's sleep talk. Yusuke is completely quiet in the manga, so Kuwabara's idiocy is not apparent in the manga. So, I don't know if I like that. Idiocy and stupidity is like a very... It's hard to characterize that sort of stuff in manga for me because... it's hard for someone to characterize it and make it like feel genuine to me. So, this I'm not sure quite how I feel about that. Zeru versus Hiei, Zeru, the fire guy, is decided pretty early, as in the case with, like I said earlier, with some fights in the series. Hiei versus Zeru, I think, is like an entire, like, one half of an episode, episode in the anime, but Zeru versus Hiei is, like the fight with Seiryu is, like, very quick, so... Chu's introduction is also different when he starts to fight Yusuke. In the manga, he swipes his two running teammates' heads cleanly off in a calm manner, while in the anime, he chokes/beats them in a drunken stupor. So, another thing is that he starts picking fights with the crowd in the anime. So, not in the manga, but in the anime, he starts picking fights with the crowd. So, he's, as you can see, like the characters in the anime tend to be a lot more like standoffish and a lot more boisterous and loud and lively, I guess is the right term. While the manga tends to make them a lot more like cool, calm, and composed. Where was I? Okay, yeah, the knife edge death match happens almost immediately in the manga. So Yusuke versus Chu, when Chu drank the liquor and he hurled like that orange ball, and Yusuke had to fire like the 2 spirit guns and all that, like that essentially doesn't happen at all in the manga. The knife edge death match happens pretty much almost immediately in the manga. However, in the anime, they made it so that the committee has to approve the fight, and then pepper the fight with various side scenes of Keiko, Koenma, and Toguro while they're watching the knife edge death match going on. And like I said, the ending to Yusuke versus Chu is a lot more like sorrowful and solemn, whereas in the anime it's a lot more like lighthearted and feel good, for better lack of term, because like when Chu stands up and tells Yusuke to kill him, and Yusuke goes like, now we'll do this some other time, pal. Remember that? That doesn't happen in the manga. Chu is just laying on the floor after being beaten, and then Yusuke doesn't kill him. He doesn't kill him, but you can see that Chu is looking on like forlorn, like in a very like forlorn look, because like how did it go again? Yusuke was talking about like the kind of like the futility of life almost, or not. It was Yusuke, Toguro, and Genkai. Like the comments that they made were kind of like talking about the futility of life and fighting. And Chu was just looking like this, like on the floor, like after he had lost with the headbutt, and he was just like looking off into the distance, if you will. So a lot more like somber and solemn ending to the fight than it is in the anime. I think guys should go read that. Well, people should go read that, not just guys, girls too. The Shizuru Sakya romance is anime only also, but I like that because it adds more to both characters, especially Shizuru, because she doesn't get a whole lot of shine in the manga, so I like that. The deal with the demon football players, that was all filler. So the characters themselves are canon. They are canon, but they are built up more in the anime. So Topaz, he's called Ogyoku in the subbed anime, the captain with the dark skin and the axe. He's more sympathetic in the anime when Toguro kills him because of his honor. So he also, and another thing, he also has a different design in the manga where he's like much more brutish. So a lot of characters, like some characters are designed differently in the anime than they are in the manga, and this black guy with the axe, Topaz Ogyoku, like he's different. He's one of them. So, in the anime, he's killed in a more extended and dramatic fashion, but in the manga, he's killed within a second after his teammates. So, like all those big teammates were ganging up on Toguro, like he is killed within a second. But in the anime, like as is the case, as you're going to start to see, and as I already said, these guys are like fights are taken care of like very quickly. So. He's killed within a second after his teammates are killed by Toguro. So the beginning of so now we get to Ichigaki, Dr. Ichigaki. The beginning of the fight with Ichigaki's team has Yusuke and Kuwabara getting their asses handed to them early in the fight in the anime. But this is not in the manga. Gastabal, who is the robot creature that attacks Kurama and Hiei, he has a different look in both versions. Let me just pull this in so that I don't run out of power. In episode 35 of the anime at the start, numerous filler comments are made that Yusuke and Kuwabara are weaker than Ichigaki's team. The fight against Ichigaki himself is treated as a gag in the manga, so this is something very important. If you read Ichigaki versus Yusuke in the manga, it is a gag fight at the very end. At the very end, so like all that drama between the students and how they were being controlled, that's all canon, but Yusuke defeating, the actual act of Yusuke defeating Ichigaki, that is treated as a gag in the manga. But in the anime, it's not. He actually gives Yusuke trouble, and he's actually a lot bigger in the anime than he is in the manga. In the manga, he's just like around the size of, I would say, maybe Toguro or Goki. But in the anime, they make him like this extremely large motherfucker. So. Where was I? Yeah. The sub version of the anime also has Hiei say that Seiryu is better at manipulating ice than Toya. So but the manga says otherwise, that Toya is the better ice user than Seiryu. So also in the manga, Kurama beats Toya right when Toya first comes at him with his ice sword. So again, quick fights. Toya versus Kurama. And I don't really. I'm not the biggest fan of Toya. He's not like one of my more favorite characters, but when Toya first rushes Kurama with that ice sword, Kurama beats him like that. But obviously in the anime they make it a lot more like extended. So again, another case of like an extended fight. When these fights are usually quick in the manga. In the anime, though, he dodges the ice sword a bunch of times before finally working out how to beat Toya, and so again, more extended fights in the anime. Let's go to the next page. Yusuke versus Bakken. So again, now we're on Team Macho. Yusuke versus Bakken is another fast fight. Bakken takes time to accumulate the necessary sweat for his fog, but in the manga, he does it right away. So the fog also unnerves Yusuke a little bit while he's not afraid in the manga. So again, now we're getting a little slight different characterization with Yusuke. He then takes one hit intentionally to deduce that Bakken basically is woat. He sucks. Woat, worst of all time slang. You guys know what I'm talking about. That he's fodder. He's shit. He sucks. But in the anime, he purposefully dodges them and then gets hit many times before concluding that he sucks. So again, Yusuke is just basically bitches Bakken in a couple of, I would say, pages in the manga, but in the anime they extend it a lot more so that they try to make him viable as a threat. This is kind of like one of the flaws of Yu Yu Hakusho. Like a lot of villains aren't very like, you can't take them seriously because they're not threats. The barrier that Ruka is using to contain Hiei and Mask are different in both versions. The manga and the anime. So the barrier actually starts healing Hiei's arm in the anime and progressively gets weaker, but none of those side effects are in the manga. It's just a barrier. That's all it is. Risho versus Kuwabara is one fight that has a lot of filler in the anime. So Risho uses his dirt armor pretty early, right, in the manga, but in the anime he's more sadistic in hitting Kuwabara a bunch of times. And again, the violence is, like his sadistic, violent nature is also seen when he hits Toya, because they were on the same team. But Kuwabara's win is also, as usual, much faster in the manga, as he punches Risho out as soon as he sees Yukina. As soon as he sees Yukina in the manga, one hit KOs Risho. But in the anime, obviously, of course, as you guys can tell, of course it doesn't do this and drags it out much more, with Kuwabara using a spirit sword to crush his spiky armor. And this is one of the moments that I hated was filler. It was Yusuke's give it back. You remember when he was training with Genkai for the spirit orb? Yusuke's give it back, you bitch. That line is filler, and I'm so pissed at that. That whole thing is filler. Well, not the fact that he integrated the spirit orb, but the pain and the violence and the way that you see him struggle at that particular moment. It's very. I don't feel like I'm voicing this correctly or articulating this correctly, but basically the dialogue that happens during that scene is filler. Pooh is with Yusuke the entire time that he is suffering from Genkai's test, but in the anime he has to rest free from Keiko to go to him. Yusuke saving Pooh is also filler when he kicks the boulder, but seeing Pooh in a decrepit state and like a very haggard state, that's canon. In the manga, when Kurama explains to Kuwabara about Hiei is in no condition to fire the Dragon of the Darkness Flame, the Kokuryuha, against Kuromamatoro, so now we're at the next round, where they're fighting Team Yuri Togi, I think their name is. He recalls Hiei's fight with Gatazbal, which was like that vine monster that was fighting Hiei and Kurama in the woods. And he says that Hiei tried to use human world fire then rather than demon world fire. But none of this is in the anime. That detail isn't in the anime. But once again, the ending to the fight is changed. The ending to the fight that he has with Kuromamatoro is changed as Hiei first got bitten. He first got bitten and then slashed him to death in the manga. While in the anime, he had already slashed Kuromamatoro before he got bit. Small little difference there, but interesting nonetheless to me. And once again, the pattern continues of more one-hit KOs being extended into longer fights in the anime. Shishiwakamaru beats Kuwabara easily by dodging his sword once and teleporting him, right? And this happens in the manga. The anime, it's once again dragged out. Trend once again continues as Genkai beats him with the reflection of one of his skulls, instead of converting multiple ones into a refracting blast in the anime. So remember how she beats him in the anime? She takes like all those skulls and you know, like coagulates it into like one blast and basically Kamehamehas him. It doesn't happen like that in the manga. He just beats him with the reflection of one of his skulls. So yeah, Karasu versus, and so now we're at the final. Round. Karasu versus Kurama has a lot of filler in the beginning. So when Kurama is trying to transform, he sets out petals and Kurama blows them and throws 2 bombs and boom, Kurama transforms. In the anime, Kurama tries to dodge Karasu a lot, and even with his rose whip, you guys know where I'm going with this, right? So, but after that, Karasu versus Kurama is pretty faithful in the manga, so cool stuff. Bui's tile hurling is filler in the anime when he fights Hiei. His initial attacks before Hiei uses his dragon is also filler. So everything before, all those attacks that Bui does before Hiei fires his Dragon of the Darkness Flame is all filler. In episode 58, all that cool animation that Hiei has when he fires the Dragon of the Darkness Flame, all that cool animation, that is all filler, unfortunately. Bui beating on Hiei after he absorbs the dragon, that is filler too, as Hiei swiftly ends the fight with a couple blows. So in the manga, like he ends it with a couple blows, but all that fighting, all that hitting that Bui does to Hiei after he absorbs he absorbs the dragon, that is all filler. So again, like much quicker fights in the manga. Toguro carrying the ring and all the other stuff before Kuwabara and Elder Toguro fight is given in real time in the anime, while in the manga, this is all through flashback after Hiei wakes up after defeating Bui. Remember, he was exhausted and he was like, oh, right? So after he wakes up, this is all given through flashback. Episode 61 dramatizes Yusuke charging his spirit gun and then canceling it and then charging Toguro. So before I go on, Kuwabara versus Elder Toguro, like that is pretty much all canon. Everything that you see in the manga or in the anime, that's pretty much all canon as it happened in the manga. But episode 61 dramatizes Yusuke charging his spirit gun and then canceling it and charging Toguro. While this is only 1 page in the manga, right? So this is only 1 page in the manga, like him trying to fire the spirit gun and then canceling it. But in the anime, it's like a good like 5-10 minutes of Toguro like trying to figure out like what he's planning to do with that. So I hated that moment. I didn't like that at all in the anime. Toguro also shouts when he's sent flying by Yusuke's spirit gun in the anime, while in the manga he doesn't, keeping in with the eventual revelation that the blast did no damage. So Sakyo's reaction to Togoro's 100% form is of calm disinterest in the manga, while in the anime he's more fearful like everybody else. Sakyo's death wraps up the anime-only subplot of Shizuru and Sakyo's relationship, while also fixing a manga plot hole. In their Chapter Black arc, Yusuke and the rest of the gang know that it was Sakyo's ambition to create a portal to the demon world. But in the manga, Sakyo never tells them this. We only see him explain it to the Toguro brothers and the tournament higher-ups. Then when he dies, he thinks to himself about it. So how did the gang know? Having Sakyo explain his desire to Koenma in the anime fixes this. So a plot hole in the manga was fixed in the anime, so that was a good thing. And this is another small detail, but in the manga, Kairin, who is the demon that killed Toguro students, he kills Toguro students and one martial arts comrade, which is then what forces Togoro's transformation into a demon. That comrade part though is left out in the anime. Kairin's appearance, like we saw with Ogyoku and Topaz, Kairin's appearance is also different in both versions too. Let me take some water because this is almost pretty much the end of the Dark Tournament. And so now we are in Chapter Black stuff. Let's go here. Okay. Sensui makes his first appearance in episode 67 of the anime, while in the manga, we don't see his face until the 4D mansion stuff is cleared up. So, the scene of Elder Toguro meeting Sensui is not shown in the manga until Kurama fights him, right? Toguro was only able to regenerate half of his head in the manga, while he has his full head and right hand in the anime. Okay. Okay, there we are. Botan come to tell Yusuke his new mission at the Dark Tournament is different in the manga. So instead, she comes to tell how Genkai was resurrected via Togoro's planning, and Yusuke and Kuwabara lamenting on the peaceful atmosphere after, making for an unexciting life. So that whole scene where Yusuke and the gang leave like on the boat, and it has like the happy music playing like at the very end of the Dark Tournament arc, doesn't happen in the manga. Like we saw with Chu, the ending to some of this stuff is a lot more somber, a lot more like sad, if you will. So Yusuke and Kuwabara, like I said, are lamenting on the peaceful atmosphere after, and that makes for some unexciting life because they're not fighting anyone. So. In the anime, Botan says Yusuke's tools during the Rando arc were destroyed previously during the Three Treasures arc. This is a plot hole. Since it was destroyed during the Rando arc when Yusuke was trying to detect his energy. Wait. Yeah. So let me explain that again. The whole plot hole thing. So in the anime, Botan says Yusuke's tools that he used during the Rando arc were destroyed previously during the Three Treasures arc. So the Three Treasures arc is the Goki Kurama Hiei one. But this is a plot hole since it was destroyed during the Rando arc itself when Yusuke was trying to detect his energy. So, and that part happens in the manga. So, the 4D mansion's artistic values are not present in the anime. In the manga, a crazy artist built the house, and in the room Kido is holding Yusuke in, you see some of the bizarre art there. Unfortunately, the anime doesn't include any of that. Sensui's introduction is different in both the anime and the manga, as I said earlier. So, as said before, his first appearance was in episode 67. But when we get to the scene of him in his apartment in episode 71, he's talking to himself about how bad humans are and, all that stuff. Like, oh, I hate humans and humans are evil and all that. In the manga, however, we don't learn Sensui's name until the scene with Itsuki, and his motives are only explained via Koenma after the fight with Seaman. So, again, very, very different introductions for the character. When Hiei says how he plans to use the portal to return to the demon world, in the manga he notes that once its diameter reaches 2 kilometers, even B-class demons will be able to pass through it. The anime doesn't include this detail, though. It's a small thing, but it implies that the reason Hiei asked Koenma about his current rank was so that he'd know precisely when he'd be able to pass through the portal between the barrier. So, I think that just makes for better storytelling if they had included that in the anime. Keiko getting infected by Doctor's bug, that is filler, does not happen in the manga. And also the anime leaves at Kuwabara's reasoning for attending the concert. He wanted to get away from the constant fighting. And again, anime misses out on characterization with Kuwabara over there. So you can start to see like why I tend to prefer the manga now. So Seaman's water monster's head that captures Sawamura. When Seaman first fights Kuwabara, that's actually penis shaped. It's shaped like a dick, and we don't see that at all in the manga or in the anime. Excuse me, unfortunately. So, but again, similarities to H.G. Geiger much, as we all know. Togashi loves that artist and his sexual art pretty much. So, the anime does something good for foreshadowing though in episode 75. Instead of having Yusuke go and play pachinko, like he does in the manga. They haven't played Game Battler and show the game over screen, which is foreshadowing the battle that he has with the Game Master that he, Genkai, Seaman, Kido, and Kurama have with the Game Master. So Kuwabara saves Seaman to get info out of him and to understand why he wants to destroy the human world. The anime leaves this part out, but the notion is brought up and dismissed as an excuse by Yusuke when he is questioning him. So the knowledge of Elder Toguro being devoured by Gourmet is given to the gang by Seaman during his questioning, while this happens in real time in the anime. So the gang doesn't learn about Elder Toguro in the anime until they fight Gourmet, but Seaman tells them about Gourmet eating Elder Toguro when he is in Yusuke's room with the rest of the gang. So. Also, Toguro has regenerated his entire head and an arm, like I said earlier, while in the manga he's just half a head. So that was just me reiterating that again. The Festival of Blood is more gory in the manga, obviously, like I said, but something to take note of is that most of the victims in the manga version are demon women, rather than just offshoot generic demons like in the anime, so, probably sexual abuse was probably a part of their whole torture with them. A funny piece is omitted out of the anime, which I kind of dislike. When Sensui first shows up and the gang is outside to greet him, Atsuko asks him if this is his new enemy. It's kind of important since if this was animated, it would have been Atsuko's last appearance. So yeah, the Atsuko. Atsuko. If they had animated it, that would have been Atsuko's last appearance in the anime. But obviously, Atsuko, we don't see her for a while after that. So yeah. Hiei taking out Sniper is different in both versions too. Kaname, Hagiri. In the manga, Sniper blows up a truck chasing Yusuke and says bye-bye, only for the next page/panel to shockingly reveal him stabbed by Hiei out of the blue. This then nicely transitions into classic Hiei saying that a storm's coming. The spatial distortions from the portal are now visible above Iruma Cave. So Iruma Cave is the cave where Yusuke fights Sensui. The anime, however, has Sniper alerted to Hiei's presence. The two stare each other down, Sniper tries to shoot him, but then Hiei fautorizes him easily, so the manga is a lot more shocking in that regard. Hiei vs. Yusuke is skipped in the manga comedically, so remember Hiei vs. Yusuke in the Chapter Black arc? In the anime it's treated as a lot more like serious, but in the manga, again, kind of like with Ichigaki, it's just treated as a gag. And Botan acts as the narrator during that gag fight, saying that they fought for 10 minutes. But like I said, obviously the anime, however, shows them fighting all the way through. King Enma's appearance in episode 80 is filler, so we don't actually see King Enma till much later in the manga, in canon. Mitarai's tennis match, Seaman's tennis match against Game Master, is elongated more in the anime, while the end is practically shown in the manga. The same is done for Genkai's helicopter portion. So what I mean by that is, like, rather than show the entire matches that Seaman and Genkai have with Game Master, like they do in the anime, the manga just shows like the ending of them, the endings of both those matches. So Hiei tries to destroy Amanuma's game with flames in the manga rather than slashing it like in the anime. However, no flames come out, indicating that territory, or the power that Kido and Yanagisawa have. It indicates that territory restricts energy, which is kind of cool. So Kurama rips Gourmet's head off in 2 seconds in the manga, while he does it in 10 in the anime. Also, something noteworthy, I guess, is that Elder Toguro did not wash up in Kubikukuri Hanging Neck Island in the manga. He washed up like on some totally different island in the manga. The anime also leaves out Itsuki loving Sensui's ugliness for some reason. I think this is important because Itsuki's character literally revolves around his love for Sensui. So I think him loving Sensui's flaws strengthens that, quote-unquote, like his love more, right? Episode 85, however, reveals that Itsuki wanted to see Sensui become more and more corrupt, using the analogy of showing uncut porno to a girl who still believes babies come from the stork, or the Cabbage Patch in the manga. Yes, as you can see, Itsuki's very fucked up. During Yusuke's and Sensui's fight, when Koenma shows up, Sensui throws Yusuke aside and he fires a spirit gun shot in the anime. This causes a plot hole as he can only fire 4 rounds in a day and he's already used 2. The later 2 are used before that against Sensui, so essentially what I'm saying, or what they're saying, is that this is a 5th one. The anime has a lot of the gang waiting outside Iruma Cave repeatedly asking if Yusuke has beaten Sensui, so there's like a lot of like cut shots and cut scenes to them asking like, do Yusuke beat Sensui? Do Yusuke beat Sensui? And there's more commentary by the team trapped in Itsuki's beast, that Mr. Popo kind of looking beast a little bit. I forget what it's called, but the manga pretty much focuses on the main fight between Yusuke and Sensui. Koenma seems to be already cognizant of Sensui's other personalities also when he meets him. But the anime suggests otherwise, that he doesn't know that Sensui he has 6 other personalities. So, and Itsuki gives an expanded explanation of the origin of Sensui's multiple personalities in the anime. He says Kazuya was created from Sensui's inability to cope with all the killings he had committed. Then his Minoru personality was created when he came up with his plans of atoning for humanity's sins, but became disgusted with how he had manipulated others to carry out these plans. The remaining 4 personalities came later. In the manga, we don't get any indication of when or in what order Sensui's alternate personalities were created, and Koenma's apparent familiarity with them would perhaps rule out Minoru and the remaining 4 personalities being created only after Sensui began creating his plans against humanity. Yeah, long stuff. I'm not going to repeat that. You guys should just go back on the YouTube player and listen to that whole shit again. But in the manga, Itsuki explains that Shinobu is Sensui's main personality, and then he has 3 personalities in charge of fighting, and 3 more in charge of other matters like house chores and stuff like that. But that small portion gets left out in the anime. When Utake, who is the SDF captain, the Spirit Defense Force captain, when he's prepared to kill Yusuke, he does so kind of reluctantly. In the anime, he does so kind of reluctantly, noting Yusuke's deeds, whereas in the manga, he gets right to it and is very decisive about it. And this kind of foreshadows his eventual turn at the end of the series, which is another major difference from the manga and the anime. In the manga, transformed Masaku Yusuke never says anything to Sensui until the end of their fight. So, Yusuke with the white hair, it's black. I think it's never white in the manga. It's all the time black. But yeah, transformed Yusuke. So now I'm talking about the Demon World fight when Yusuke and Sensui fight. And after Yusuke transforms, he doesn't say a single line of dialogue to Sensui until the end of their fight, when he kills him, basically. When he tells him that it's time to finish him off. Sensui likewise doesn't say anything but magnificent when he first sees Yusuke's transformed state. So that whole fight that they have, there's only 1 line of dialogue at the start and 1 line of dialogue at the end, and then obviously the death words and speech for Sensui at the very end of the fight when Itsuki takes him away. And the anime also changes, and this is a very big one. The anime changes Sensui's motivation from wanting to be reborn as a demon in the manga when he dies to wanting to die by a demon's hand in the anime. It's a very big different characterization for Sensui in the manga and the anime. And keep in mind, I'm not even talking about the dub. I'm talking about the manga and the sub at this point. So, in episode 94, the Special Defense Squad heads back into the cave after Yusuke tells them to get lost, saying that their duty is to close up the portal. In the manga, they seem to take off into the sky, leaving the cave behind, which is odd because they shouldn't be done sealing the portal yet, because sealing the portal is supposed to take 2 days, so the anime kind of makes that better. During the scene with Kamiya, who is Doctor, and Hagiri, who is Sniper, after they talk after Sensui's killed, in the manga, when Kamiya says that Sensui has lost, Hagiri asks why he thinks so. Kamiya, Doctor, says it's because of the wound on Hagiri's chest, the one from when Hiei stabbed him. It was clearly made by someone with incredible skill, and Kamiya figures out that not even Sensui could defeat such people, which I think is dumb because Sensui is obviously stronger than Hiei. I never got that line of reasoning in the manga. In the anime, though, when Kamiya asks Sensui has lost, Hagiri simply agrees, and then Kamiya starts talking about Hagiri's wound with no real transition. A flashback to Hiei stabbing Hagiri is played here. Sniper is played here. Also in the anime, the scene begins with them briefly discussing Doctor's jailbreak, and at the end, Sniper asks Kamiya what he'll do now. Doctor says he doesn't know, but it'll be like walking through mist, which is exactly what the manga show, the manga and the anime show. Him walking, fading into the mist. During Doctor's epilogue, he stops to laugh at his own wanted poster, having used his ability to alter his face, obviously. In the anime, though, a nearby policeman asks what's so funny and if he knows anything about the man in the wanted poster, but Doctor just says that the man happened to resemble someone he knew. In the anime, the narrator's explanation of Doctor's future explicitly says that he used the Miracle Hands hospital he established to heal many people. The manga isn't quite so specific, it just says he established the hospital. And given Kamiya's Doctor's personality, you're left to wonder what a place run by him would be like, right? So, basically the difference is that the manga, again, makes it a lot more darker and somber when he opens the hospital, because you don't know if he healed many people like how we do in the anime. The narrator also says that Doctor lives alone in the manga, which gets left out in the anime. Following that in the anime is a anime-only scene, obviously, in the spirit world. King Enma reads the letter from Koenma saying he doesn't plan on returning to the spirit world. Otake says that while Koenma went against the will of the spirit world, he's still the one chiefly responsible for the successful sealing of the portal. It's another way the anime makes Otake into a sympathetic character, in contrast to the manga where he eventually becomes, or is revealed to always have been, an extremist religious terrorist who stands against the changes Koenma and Yusuke have made to the relationship between the spirit, human, and demon worlds. So, yeah. The anime explicitly identifies the third member of... Okay, so now we're in the Three Kings stuff. The anime explicitly identifies the third member of Hokushin's party as Seitei. In the manga, Hokushin refers to one of his two companions as Toho, but we don't get a name for the other guy, at least not until the Unification Tournament, where besides Hokushin and Toho, it's revealed that two of Raizen's monk follower guides are named Nankai and Seizan. However, it's not clear which of those two accompanied Hokushin and Toho to Kuroko Sanada's house, done and to see Yusuke. So, during his message that he delivers to Kurama in the manga, Yomi mentions that he sensed that Kurama came to the demon world, and he can tell he's gotten stronger, while the anime leaves this part out. Also in the manga, Yomi says that hundreds of years ago when he and Kurama worked together, Raizen and Mukuro were the twin heads of the demon world, while in the anime he says they were trying to take over the demon world. So they were made out to be like more conqueror-like figures in the anime. Whereas in the manga they were just like heads of the government, the two top heads of the government. So Mukuro's message, meanwhile, mentions in the manga, say that 5 times fast, that Hiei was quite famous in Northeast Sector 13 as a prodigy who reached A-class power by age 5, which the anime leaves out. Mukuro also asks Hiei if he knows about her three-way standoff with Raizen and Yomi and explains about it a little. She later warns Hiei that he should refuse any offer he gets from Yomi if he wants a long life, and that joining Raizen's side would be outright suicidal. The anime skips these parts. Yusuke talking to Keiko about his newfound demon heritage isn't in the manga because Keiko wasn't there at Iruma Cave when he came out after killing Sensui, so that's another difference. Keiko wasn't there at all when the events with... Well, she wasn't there when, they went to Iruma Cave, so... But in the anime, she and Shizuru, Kuwabara's sister, are there. Kuwabara going to see the trio off to Demon World happens because of Yukina in the manga. The anime makes it a little more heartfelt because they'll be gone for 3 years. So again, the anime is trying to make it a lot more emotional. Kuwabara also doesn't punch Yusuke in the manga when he learns the reason as to why he's going. Whereas in the anime, he punches him, and then Yusuke in the dub says, "I'll miss your weak-ass punches, Kuwabara." I always love that line, but, that's filler. It doesn't happen in the manga. And we also finally learn about the different versions of Hiei's birth. In the anime, he is cast from the cliff while his mother is still alive before committing suicide later in the manga. Should an ice maiden give birth to a male, the immediate... what am I saying? In the anime, he is cast from the cliff while his mother is still alive before she commits suicide later. But in the manga, should an ice maiden give birth to a male, they immediately die. Like, it's just like a law, like a biological reaction. So Hiei losing the Hirui Stone made him do things differently. Gaining the Jigan left him weak, fulfilling his wish for self-punishment for losing it, right, in the manga. But in the anime, the loss of power makes him learn swordsmanship from Shigure, which is kind of strange as the anime already included filler scenes of him wielding a sword as a kid, right? Kind of doesn't make sense there, but whatever. As usual, Hiei vs Shigure is much faster in the manga than in the anime when they fight. After what's her name? Mukuro gets them to fight. The anime also leaves out Hiei's way of thinking now, since his past self wouldn't have accepted a draw. So now Hiei is a lot more self-loathing and isn't really as violent as he was when he was a kid. Let me stretch. 53 minutes. Let's keep this going. I'm almost done with this too. So now we're going to talk about Mukuro's character, which to me is like another major difference in the anime and the manga. So Mukuro is much more savage in the manga. She was a sex slave who poured acid over herself to disgust her sex master, which presumably made her more violent and crude when she got older. The anime doesn't have this part. The anime also is it doesn't have that part. The anime also places a great deal of importance on her chain cuffs, where in the manga, they're just a part of her attire that she can take off at will. But the anime makes like that whole thing about how she was in chains and Hiei cuts it off when they fight. That doesn't happen at all in the manga. But yeah, her personality is like Mukuro's is a lot more like, she's a lot more violent and crude and like dark and like just like raw and savage. But she's not like brutish about it. She says those things like in a very like calm manner. So, but she's a lot more angry in the manga than how she is in the anime. That's for sure. Um, and then, so another difference is that Kurama's tidbit on the number 2 in each king's army. So this is when, you know, Kurama's talking with Hiei, or not Hiei, Yomi, about like the different lieutenants that each king has. In the manga, he shows that each king is so strong that the number 2, that the second people, that the number 2 in commands of each nation, army, king, whatever you want to call it, that they're basically worthless. Well, in the anime, he positions for waiting for stronger number 2s to show up. Remember how in the dub that he said like the number 2 would decide everything? Like the manga goes the complete opposite, saying that they're worthless. Where were we? Okay. And also in the manga, the charms that were used by Terukune to keep Spirit World from finding out about Yukina were used by Kurama to conceal the Dark Tournament's fighters training to join Yomi when Genkai is training them. However, it is never explained in the anime why Spirit World hasn't found them, as in both they were training in Human World. Exactly. Shachi versus Kurama is yet another quick fight that is dragged out by the anime. Again. Koenma and Botan are not around during the Demon World tournament in the manga, but they're there during the anime, so another big difference. The tournament is made more complicated by Yomi, presumably because it happens in Gandhara, in the manga. In the preliminaries, each contestant wears a ring around their neck, which can only be removed by saying a 5-digit code number. To advance past the preliminaries, a contestant must remove the rings of all the other... To advance past the preliminaries, a contestant must remove the rings of all the other contestants in their block, either by forcing them to reveal their code number, or simply by killing them and taking the ring that way. So basically, like, Yomi makes it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. Chu loses to Natsume in round 1 in the tournament instead of the preliminaries. So, yeah, Chu doesn't... does that have... Yeah, that was in the manga, yeah. So, I forget. In the anime or the manga, one he loses in the preliminaries to Natsume, the other he loses in the round 1 of the tournament. Yomi versus Shura is a fight that is expanded much more upon in the anime too, but I like that though because I actually like that fight a lot in the anime, Yomi versus Shura. It's a pretty good one. In the anime, after Shigure loses to Kurama, he commits suicide. But in the manga, he doesn't, instead helping Makuro patrol Demon World at the end. Hiei versus Makuro is not shown in the manga, and to further explain that, it's more shown, to be more precise, Makuro defeats Hiei in one punch in the manga. Yeah. She defeats Hiei in one punch in the manga. And also in the manga, Hiei gives Makuro her sexual abuser for torture as a birthday present. And we don't see that at all in the anime, unfortunately. Makuro's ability to cut space is anime only, obviously because we don't see the fight that she has at all with Hiei in the manga. Episodes 107, 108, and 109 are basically all filler. So, Yusuke versus Yomi is not shown at all in the manga, which is, I think, such a ballsy move because it's basically the final fight, the final major fight, and Togashi just says, fuck it, I'm not showing it. And obviously we know like his feelings at this time when he was finishing Yu Yu Hakusho, like he basically hated writing manga, so. But I also think like from a writing perspective, it's very interesting not to show the final fight at all. It's very ballsy too. Yusuke was conscious when he lost because he remembers Yomi complimenting his strength. But in the anime, obviously he loses because, you know, he got knocked out. But, you know, Yusuke doesn't lose that way. In the manga, even though we don't see the fight, I mean, it's mentioned that he was conscious when he was defeated. So, Kurama giving Kie his Hirui stone to give to Yukina and Raizen, talking with Yusuke at the wait. Oh yeah, okay. So 2 anime only scenes. Kurama giving Hiei his Hirui stone to give to Yukina. That whole thing was filler, and then Raizen talking with Yusuke at his grave. That's filler too. All anime only. Another thing is that there's like this funny moment of this demon called Yotsume who says he's going to kill Yusuke very early on in the tournament, and then it's treated as a gag moment because later you find out he was beaten in I think he was defeated in the first round or the preliminaries like Chu by some fodder. So I mean, and it's funny because he looks beast as fuck, but he loses like that. So very funny to me. In the manga, Yusuke and Kurama are talking about the state of Spirit World, and it's revealed Enma brainwashed demons to attack humans to make Spirit World look better. Koenma has overthrown him after this, and this is major because King Enma now is basically, he's not the main villain, but he was an overarching villain, and we don't learn anything about him in the anime. Very interesting, right? Also in the manga, demons are starting to be integrated into human society, and so that's Yu Yu Hakusho's like main theme, which is the integration and the coexistence of humans and demons, and the integration of demons into human life. And so we're finally starting to see that at the end of the manga. We also see Yusuke's father, and that he's getting together with Atsuka once a month. And like I said earlier, Spirit Defense Force Captain Otake becomes a villain. And so like there's like a whole mini arc at the end where we see like Yusuke doing shit with them. So Genkai dies in Nitro Fort, or where Yusuke tries to defeat him. Genkai dies of natural causes at the end of the manga, and also there's no kiss between Keiko and Yusuke. But there's romance. There's romance still apparent between them because basically the ending arc between Captain Otake, where he's like the villain. He was basically firing like some super weapon to destroy human world, or all three worlds, I forget which one. And there's 3 buttons: red, yellow, or blue. And Yusuke has to choose one of them, which will stop it. But the other 2 will activate it. And so Yusuke chose blue, and he based it on blue because blue is Keiko's favorite color. So that indicates that like, there's still some romance between them at the end of the manga, unlike the kiss that we see at the end of the anime. Also, and now we're at the final thing. There is no last-minute reunion between the 2 like in the anime. Yusuke comes before the 3 years are up, and actually helps Keiko solve a girls' school dispute. So at the end of the anime, where like Yusuke appears right at the end, it doesn't happen like that in the manga. Nope, he comes before the 3 years are up, and integrates himself back into life with his friends and family. And right there is the end of every single major story difference that I thought was important. If you guys have stick around for the whole hour, thank you guys for watching. And I think the best comments that you guys can make are keeping up with me. Typing comments as you listen to me talk. So tell me what you guys thought. Thank you guys for watching, and yeah, that's it. I don't know when my next video will be, but I plan to do a stream soon, so yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys for watching. And comment your thoughts on the description box below, or comment section below. And have a good night. It's almost 3 o'clock here, so I'm gonna go sleep. Well, not sleep. Probably play Fire Emblem, but yeah, thank you guys for watching. Later. Bye.